Greetings, everyone. It's time for Distant Worlds to jump into now an exciting third phase, what I would call the age of expansion, the era of the Gerax Hyperdrive. And really, at this stage, it's all about a land grab, expanding as quickly as we can into the galaxy. And for all practical purposes, the entire galaxy is now within our reach in terms of discovering what's out there and eventually exploiting it. So we need to take a look at what those new capabilities are with the new hyperdrive, but then we also want to focus mostly on this episode on interacting with the other empires, as we did meet one in the last session. So we'll dive into a little more detail in terms of ourselves, the Akuros, what are our racial distinctives, our pluses and minuses, how do we interact diplomatically with other empires, and then also just assessing our place in this greater galaxy that's going to open up to us. What are our goals? What does it mean to win in Distant Worlds? And how do we compare ourselves to the other empires that are out there? So diving into the design elements, let's get the Gerax Hyperdrives out, jump into our surveyor here, and we're going to notice that, okay, we're at almost 1.8 sectors. If we remove our warp generator and put on the Gerax version, over 10 times as much. And it's that high because, again, we're over 6 times the speed, but also a little over half the energy required. So way more efficient, and is rather an extreme jump. Too extreme, if you ask me. I think it'd be more interesting if this was down around 8 to 10,000 speed range. But regardless of that, it's not incremental at all. We could move with this much range, move from one corner to the other corner of a 10 by 10 sector galaxy such as we have, and still have range left over. We're going to want to knock this down some. The civilian freighters at this stage are now going to jump up to almost 4 sectors of range. But if we have in the 8 to 10 range, okay, I could go down one more, but I think I actually like being there. This is a little bit too low. So I'm going to stick with it being at around 9. And then we have the ability to knock down a reactor too. So we have all of this extra, basically dead weight that we've gotten rid of, and we can afford to improve our performance quite a bit on this. I'm going to add in some more thrust vectors. Okay. Starting to hit diminishing returns there, but 6 of these is very nice. And then we'll add in some more thrusters. All right, so around there seems to be a pretty decent breakpoint. You can see, almost twice fast cruising speed for the little bit we'll need it for. We can escape from danger much more quickly, and much faster turning rate along with the increased range. So just a quantum leap in our capabilities. And then we'll need to do the same process for our others. And actually, I want to add one more item, though, that I forgot. So let's go ahead and put on here, because I do want to add the countermeasures as well, just as an additional defensive bit. I'll also add one more bit of armor. We have the room, so why not make them as defended as possible? Okay, down to 28 cruising speed, but that's fine. All right, so on to the engineer. Let's go ahead and do the extension here as well. Remove the warp generator. Add Gerax. Okay, and this is just over 5 sectors, which with civilian ships can be just under 4. That's actually right about where I want it. I don't think I'm going to change the fuel here at all. And we can, again, knock down one reactor. If I knock down another one, we'll actually be just under here. And there's no reason for me to accept a lower speed. So we'll go ahead and do that. We don't really need any improvement, though, in our performance of speed and turn rate for these, because, again, they're just point to point. I don't see the necessity of that. I will definitely add on a countermeasure as well. But otherwise, I think we will stick with these as is, and they're going to be quite effective, still over 5 sectors of range. And then I don't want to do major shipbuilding until we get to our next construction size increase. That's going to be about a year away. But we do want to do some adjustments to our military options. And the same drill will repeat. So we will drop down from this. 10 sectors is probably not needed. On these, I want to sort of be in the 6 to 8 range. Longer than the construction ships, but not as high necessarily as the explorers. So we can't afford to lose some fuel. That's probably a more appropriate place for us to be. We'll lose a reactor. And so again, we've got more space that we can handle and deal with here. So what are we going to do with all that? Well, I think what I'm going to do is just, for the most part, just add more weapons. And just of the same type for now. So I need to get this organized. And we'll add maybe another one of those. Maybe another missile. What does that put us at? 212. So if we double our previous capabilities in terms of weapons, then maybe we add some more thrusters. See if we can improving our turn angle will be really nice here. And you could, fudge which direction we want to go with this. But you see, our maximum weapons energy use is 52, which would still leave 30 to fuel the engines. I'm feeling okay with that. This is probably a reasonable balance. Could tweak a little bit, but much more firepower than we previously had. So we're going to retrofit everything to those ships. We still have coming in all of our exploration ships. They actually didn't make it back quite in time, but we'll also want to be building more of these. So I'm going to just jump in here, and for the moment we're going to add in 4. Double our complement of explorers and get out further into the galaxy. Here's our Galactopedia entry on our race, the Akuros. Large muscular primates with short brown-red fur. Now, some of this description here is just sort of background fluff. For example, it's talking about our ears being large and widely spaced, and we have effectively a sonar ability, allowing us to see in the dark. This has no practical gameplay impact. It's just there for you to sort of have a little bit more of a sense of the species. And then we've got items like the temperament, which will impact quite a bit. And what we're seeing here is basically, the way I'd summarize it is, we don't make friends easily, but once we do make friends, we're a good friend to have. If a situation comes up where we feel threatened, we're going to react decisively. So we're just kind of standoffish until we get to know a race. And then we have our mechanical engineering description here, which results in us being able to have our special technology that only Akuros can get. The S2F7 repair bot, the best damage control by a significant margin that is available in the game. Another bit of fluff here regarding the natural world and herbal medications and all of that. We live in tree dwellings high in the forest canopies, continental planets. And then we've got all of our basic stats for the race. The race family here, and we're the Ursidian. This is something that can affect our diplomacy, because if another race is of the same family as ours, we'll tend to get along better with them. On the other hand, later on, it's going to affect migration, and we'll get into that further in the game. There, unfortunately, is only one other race, the Keterov, that are part of the Ursidian family. And so that's not going to benefit us as much as it might for some of the other race families where they have more races in them. Then our reproduction rate, a bit on the low side. And then the characteristics here, these are a little bit fun to wrap your head around. Some of them can conflict, as we've got the more detailed breakdown here. Intelligence, overall smartness, you can research faster, stronger ground troops, more intelligence agents. They'll tend to include more components in the ship designs, etc. Some of these are aspects that we can control because, for example, there's some conflict between aggression, level of aggression, willingness to use violence, and caution, carefulness, and prudence. Now, if you're cautious, you're going to build smaller military ships, and if aggressive, going to build large military ships. Well, obviously we can control what size ships we're going to build for our own empire, but a lot of this is really useful in terms of predicting or understanding, assessing how another race is going to behave. On the other hand, the items like having stronger ground troops, researching faster, recruiting more intelligence agents, that's just something that you're going to get as a bonus or a weakness, depending on which side it's on, regardless of whether or not it's your race or not. So if we jump down a little further, we've got the friendliness, openness, and affability. That's not us. We're on the unfriendly side. And then reliability and dependability down here. So if we jump back into what the Akuros have, so we are aggressive, we are cautious, but we're also unfriendly. Again, we're not eager to make new acquaintances. We are intelligent, and we are dependable. And the quite prefix here, or descriptor, is a middle ground one. There can be very low, like slightly, or it can be very high, like extremely. So comparing to some of the other races that we've met the Mechanoids, that is the Ancient Guardians, who basically a special precursor type race, extremely powerful, but thankfully they're not in the mood to take over the galaxy. They're very passive, they're extremely passive, excuse me, cautious, unfriendly, intelligent, and dependable. So we want to stay on their good side, but as long as we do, we should safely be able to stay there. They're not going to just randomly decide, okay, we just want to go conquer, etc. So this can all really help us in understanding, dealing with them. And then the Beskara, which is the other race that we've met, the Utrantu Collective, well, they are scary. The most violent and aggressive race in the known galaxy, untrustworthy allies, their instinctive lust for conquest and expansion is without equal. Most other races consider them to be completely without scruples and thus steer well clear of them, etc. So, yeah, we're probably not going to be fast friends with them. But perhaps we will meet other races that we will be able to have more productive relations with. So, looking at the rest of our abilities here, we have, okay, our racial bonuses. Bonus to maintenance, bonus to troop maintenance, ship and troop maintenance, that is. And then also, we have an increase to our colony income. Our resource bonuses here, okay, we've seen lead already, development bonus for colonies. Strength bonus to new troops if we have Acelia. And population growth rate boost when we have Megalos nut. And this is important because we haven't found any new sources of Megalos nut yet. We definitely want to keep our eye out for that. And so these are resources. I mean, you always want every resource you can get, but we have special reasons for wanting to make sure we do not run out of these three. Then victory conditions, we'll get to that a little bit later, but basically each race has their own special conditions. And we have reduced colonization costs beyond the first basic colonization tech, all the special planet types that we can add, reduced by 10%. We've noted our special technology. There is no normal technology that we are disallowed. And then a plus 25% boost to our construction speed. Now that we've got a basic framework in place for evaluating our own factions, evaluating others, let's dive into the diplomacy a little bit further. Most of these factoids we are very familiar with now. We've got the language down, but reputation, we haven't gotten into that yet. What does that mean? Well, satisfactory there is baseline. It's what everybody has here at the start. And basically, what we're looking at is your bad boy, good boy rating. Are you a positive actor in the galactic community or not? So it's going to go up if you honor your agreements, if you destroy pirates, etc. It's going to go down if you engage in unprovoked attacks and don't honor your agreements. So, generally speaking, do you want the other factions to be willing to engage with you? Well, then you should probably try to not let your reputation go too low. Now, there's actually more information than meets the eye over here. We're selecting our own faction at the moment, and we can see what the other ones think of us. We can see by the color of the line what our relationship is with them. You see the pirate protection here by the pirates, and no relationship with the Ancient Guardians and the Utrantu Collective. But then what are these numbers here? Well, this is very counterintuitive, but these don't have jack diddly squat to do with your actual relationship with them or what they think of you. These are trade numbers. Specifically, how much annual trade we have with each of these factions can be useful in deciding whether you want to form better trade agreements with them. But there's nothing that tells you that. So that's just very, in my opinion, bad from an interface standpoint. And then I also am not a huge fan, although I know what they're going for. Got all the random colors and names here and everything, but then it just makes it overall hard to read because it's inevitable that some of these are going to clash with the background. So they definitely were in a difficult spot. We're going to see this grow and grow and grow until it's much longer than the length of the screen here. So they have a lot of information to display, but I think having sort of standardized colors for them all might have actually made more sense. It would look maybe a little bit more bland, but I would take readable and bland. In any case, the different types of possible relations over here. Well, we've got the no relationship. That's pretty basic. We know who you are, but that's about it. War, that doesn't need much definition either. Pirate protection, we've seen. In terms of the others, we've got the free trade agreement. If you sign one of these, you will get an increased economic bonus. Basically, it'll start gradually increasing, and you get up to 20% of the value of trade added to your income. So what we have here is, say, the Ancient Guardians amount was 2K. If we had a relation with them for a while, free trade agreement, and we did not have any change in the trade amount that's going on between us, then we might see another 400 credits a year. Okay. Also, if you have a free trade agreement, what can happen is that you will get vision of the closest colony they have to your systems, and vice versa. And that's just to facilitate having the free trade agreement start up. Mutual Defense Pact is the next level up from that, but you also get vision on everything that other faction has, vice versa. The bonus to trade goes up from 20% at the max to 30% it can increase to at the max. And as the name of the agreement indicates, if one of you is attacked, it is expected the other one will come to their aid. Protectorate is similar, except for it's much more unbalanced. You have a much larger faction that is going to protect the much smaller faction. It's a one-way protection agreement there. Now, there's also the subjugated dominion. If you win a war, this can be one of the conditions imposed. And that means that the losing party in the war will owe a 10% tribute, and the winning party will also have full vision on everything they're doing to avoid getting stabbed in the back. Trade sanctions, this basically is just a we don't like you, so we're not going to have any trade with you at all. If the Ancient Guardians were imposing trade sanctions on us, or if we imposed them on them, then we would not have this 2,000 here at all, because there would be no trade allowed between us. So that's the different diplomatic relations states. Now, there's also different ways of interacting. Now, as we've seen with the pirates, basically with these, you can see a long relationship is built, trust between us. If we try to speak with them, well, we can cancel our protection arrangement or we can buy stuff from them. That's pretty much it. And I generally don't think these are worth it. I'd rather spend my credits on other items. So really, there's not a great deal there. Pirates are not going to give us a lot of diplomatic options. And by the way, notice that some of these pirate groups, they actually have protection agreements with other pirates as well. So there's some sort of dynamic interplay beginning to form between here. One of the parts that annoys me, though, is if I select the Otranto Collective, I can only see the attitude of other empires towards them. I can't see what the pirates think of them, but I can always see what they think of the various pirates if we select them down here. So it's only the other empires. Select your own empire or select the pirates, and you get the full list of attitudes. But if you select one of these, you don't get that. And I've always thought that was really weird and off, because why doesn't it go all the way around, treating them all the same way? In any case, so the Ancient Guardians, notice they have Laurel's fruit. They refuse to trade it with us. They're reasonably happy with us right now, but they generally don't want to enter into agreements with you. They have the same sort of options, some of them, that is. Like you can do free trade agreement, mutual defense pact, etc., etc., etc. But it's not exactly the same. We have change relationship, send a gift, send a warning. And then if this is our standard empire that we can now engage with. We can also try to swap max through tech and negotiate a trade proposal. Those are not options with the Ancient Guardians. So we've seen what free trade agreement, they're not going to agree to one right now. Mutual defense pact, etc. I'm not going to want a mutual defense pact with them because I don't want them to see what I'm doing, because they're scary and dangerous and not to be trusted. So I probably am going to want to go up to a free trade agreement if we can, just to help boost the economy and everything. But that's as far, I think, as I would ever want to go with Beskar. Declare war. We can give them military refueling rights, give them mining rights. I don't want to give them mining rights in our territory. I want to hang on to that. But one thing I normally do is I normally offer the military refueling unless we're short on fuel, which we're not right now. We're doing fine on that. So I'm going to offer them that. And it's usually a good, free, cheap way to just get them on your side. Just make sure you have plenty of fuel, and that can be beneficial. What scheme for conquest have you come to share with us, friend? Now, in terms of the mining rights, basically, I just want to have the choice to mine or not mine everything in my territory. I don't want to be giving away our potential resources to any other competitors that we can avoid it. So I'm going to leave that off to the side. Then we can just send a gift. That's basically bribe them with cash, small, medium, and large. We can send a warning to them to, stop doing various things if that's what we want. But they're not actually doing anything to us right now, so we don't really want to do that. We can swap maps or tech. They are not interested in the tech swap right now, so all we've got are these territory or galaxy maps. And again, it can be really dangerous to give away information, because basically what we'd be doing is letting them see all of our exploration, then maybe they get to a key target before we can. I mean, that could go both ways, but I much prefer just to, no, you stay on your own, you explore on your own, we're not going to give you any information to help you. And then we can negotiate a trade proposal. Now, the only thing they're offering us is money, not even their maps over here. So this is really not going to work. But you see, we can offer them different research. We can threaten them unless they agree with us. We can offer them money. So as we get more and more factions in and we get to know them better, we will have different options here. But as it is, there is not really much there. So that's our various diplomatic options, but other than offering them the refueling right now, there isn't anything productive we can do. We don't even know where they are. We're not too anxious to know where they are, but I'm sure we will have further dealings down the road. Up here we have this little pie chart button, Open Empire Comparison and Victory Conditions. And this will give us a bit of a picture of where we're going in the long term. Victory conditions, as it says, don't apply for 10 years. So we've got another year and a half, and still they would kick in. And then you can see we are listed at 29%, and the victory threshold is 80%. Looks like we're a good part of the way there. But that's deceiving. You're always going to have a decent amount, but actually pushing this up to get to 80 takes some doing. And we're ranked above the Otranto Collective, but as we get more factions in here, there'll be a lot more dynamic to this, different factions moving up and down. We're just getting to know the basics of it here. And you can change different settings if you want. You can play a total sandbox where the game just keeps going until you're sick of playing it, or until you completely wipe everybody out, or you can take this victory conditions, kicking in and move it, 200 years into the future or whatever. But for the default setup, we can see that we have 4 different colored bars. We have the left is the blue for the economy, based on your share of the gross domestic product in the galaxy. Population, how much of the population do we have? In the green, the yellow is territory. What percentage of colonies do you have? And then the red gets really interesting for your victory conditions. But notice with the territory element, we have 5% of the colonies in the galaxy, which is 1. So if we do the math, there's probably about 20 different empires in this galaxy. Yep, it's going to be a busy place eventually, but we'll get to that. Okay, so on the right side in the red. Now, the victory conditions for the race are really interesting to me because we're going to be competing with the other empires for economy, population, territory. But we can kind of just be going at cross points with them when it comes to the racial ones, because we can be going after something that they couldn't care less about, and vice versa. So we want to have the most spaceports in the galaxy. Okay, we're going to want to have a bunch of colonies and build spaceports on all of them. All right. Lose the fewest ships and bases in the galaxy. We're definitely going to want to be cautious and not tolerant of losses. Control 33% of continental colonies in the galaxy. This is a very common one, wanting you to control a lot of whatever your native planet type is. And you can see right now that we have a partial credit for that. And then we want free trade agreements, defense pacts, or protectorates with 30% of all empires in the galaxy. So we want to have good relations in general and not be in a lot of costly wars and expand. So that's where we're going, especially with the continental colonies. Now let's compare that to our current only rival, the Otranto Collective. Now they're weaker than us in the economy, weaker in population. Everybody's pretty much the same in territory right now. And the Bhaskara victory conditions, well, they want to control homeworlds. So they want to basically be dominating other factions. They want to destroy the most enemy ships and bases in the galaxy. The opposite of ours. We want to lose the least. They want to destroy the most. And also, notice that that's their biggest goal. That's 30% of their racial victory conditions is on that destruction element. They want to exterminate or enslave the most people in the galaxy, and they want to destroy the most enemy troops in the galaxy. So if you're a fan of genocide, the Bhaskara and the Otranto Collective are for you. And there are also very many different types, as we'll see with the different races as we go through this. All kinds of different victory conditions that can be involved here. But the Otranto Collective is very nearly our polar opposite. Now, if we look at some of the comparison, achievements here is just, basic game achievements. We've got our score compared to theirs, etc. Nothing really super important here in terms of comparing us to the Otranto. But now we've got population. Okay, we've got more than they do. Of course, everybody's going to be dwarfed by the Ancient Guardians. Territory. Yep, everybody's got one. Economy. We're like twice their size. That's very nice. Strategic value. We're higher, so we can research faster. That's also very nice. Military strength. We don't even register. We're actually about 1/10 of theirs, and they have this dinky little amount compared to the Ancient Guardians. Hint, don't pick a fight with the Ancient Guardians. You will regret it. And then top colonies, well, there's only one. Because the only one we know of is our home moon of Reese. So I hope this deep dive into racial distinctives, diplomacy, etc. has given everyone a good foundation and some information about how to deal with the other empires. We're going to be getting back to some more action in the next session going forward. Some of what we're going to be looking at doing is obviously more exploration in the Gerax era. We're going to want to move into upgrading our military, looking at some more advanced fleet management concepts, trying to fight back and push out our zone of control against the pirates. And who knows what else we might discover out in the galaxy that could throw a wrench into some of those plans. Until then, thanks for watching, everybody. If you're enjoying the series, then I'll invite you to subscribe and click the bell icon so YouTube will notify you of the next upload. See you soon.